Our morning keynote is going to be on which emerging crypto technologies are most poised to reach mass adoption. Our speaker today is Richard Els. Please welcome Richard.
Testing. Hi everybody. I've been assured that if I press this button something will happen. Fabulous. I'm Richard Els, the CEO of a company we set up just last year. It's been a bit of a wild ride. We are a cryptocurrency called Electroneum, and I'm here to talk to you about various other things today, but I may well have a shameless plug for Electroneum too. So, what I'm going to talk to you about is why is it that some of the cryptocurrencies have not taken off in the way that perhaps we expect them to, and where can we see that growth in the future, or how can we predict it? Interestingly, John and Ariana's piece this morning was really good in comparison to what I'm talking about. So hopefully taking some of mine and taking some of theirs together will be good. So, first of all, let's look at the existing market. So we've got the Visas, the MasterCards. There's some here that you may not have realised that are doing payments like WeChat. There's obviously PayPal, and there's a little one called M-Pesa. None of you have seen M-Pesa, you need to come look at it because it's a really interesting project. It's not blockchain, but they're doing 67 or nearly 70 billion a year in transactions in Kenya alone. And it's a mobile app. Now, when you look at cryptocurrencies, I've been generous in putting 50 billion a year in transaction volume. Now, this is not the volume that you see on exchanges where people are just investing. This is actually people spending the money. Actually, I can really only find about 10 billion of cryptocurrency payments in transactional volume. But I put 50 because it's feeling generous. But you can see it's tiny in comparison. So, okay, so why is it that it's tiny? You've probably already got the idea that cryptocurrency is not the easiest thing in the world to spend. But it's also, we've got a lot of habits. So if you're trying to aim your market at the West, everybody here's got a Visa card or an Amex card or a MasterCard. We've got other ways to do this. We've got a habit of how we digitally spend already. So you're going to need to overcome that with a cryptocurrency. So we need to look at projects that are overcoming that. Bad PR, everybody knows every time Bitcoin gets mentioned in the press, it generally gets mentioned with something bad associated with it. Unfortunately, that's the market today. Transaction speed, terribly slow. It's going to take you 20 minutes or something to get your money. If you're lucky, it might take a little bit longer. There are some notable exceptions to that, Dash being one of them. Ryan was here yesterday, and it's a project that I like. Complexity. The market is totally dominated by people that are elitist in their little sort of technical worlds. It's not something for everybody yet, so we need to, these are all the things we need to crash down. Regulatory uncertainty, of course, many people here are very familiar with this. Nobody has really come out as yet in any country and made a very definitive set of guidelines to work with cryptos, but they're pretty much starting to happen now. And lack of real-world utility. I put that in there specifically because everybody talks about cryptos and they look at them, and if you're familiar with them, then 8 decimal places is something that's normal to you. But if you take somebody who's never looked at a cryptocurrency before and show them a cryptocurrency price, it will freak out their brains. 8 decimal places don't work for the human brain. We've been used to 2 decimal places for absolute ages in everything we do. So if I go to buy something that's 0.00047, is that a good price? I'm not really sure. So I think we need to overcome that as well. So effectively what we're going to talk about is that the things that are going to be good in the future are going to be things that fill a gap, solve a real problem, and deliver into that marketplace. Now, I'm talking about cryptocurrencies pretty much as a medium of payment, but remember that most of the market is made up of tokens. So you probably already know this, but there's a big gap between tokens and coins. So tokens are nearly all ERC20 things built on Ethereum, and then coins that are dealing with their own blockchain doing something specific for making payments. But even within this space, if we look at, for instance, I've deliberately chosen under coins Ripple and Monero. So these both fill a gap, even though there's no specific tick sheet. So that tick sheet there, by the way, from John, I think that's fantastic. It's on your table, and somebody is trying to actually create a way of valuing cryptocurrencies. And I think that's a really, really good move forwards. But what's interesting is you can't necessarily just have a tick sheet for regulation, for instance. Ripple's highly regulated. So we look at Ripple and say, okay, if a highly regulated coin is going to do very well, then that means regulation must be the answer. But Monero are the exact opposite. But they fill a gap. So they don't like regulation, but they are a fantastic coin for filling the gap. They fulfill their purpose perfectly, and as such, they're a very strong play. So then on the coin side, token side, I've just covered a couple there that are particular projects that I quite like. That, again, are filling a gap. But what I've done with these is I've chosen these based not so much on what they're delivering now, but what they could deliver and the fact they've got strong teams. So again, this came up earlier in Ariana's and John's segment, which was you've got to analyse that team. You've got to have a look to see if they can deliver what it is that they're saying they're going to deliver. And this back down the bottom, this is a tough sell when we get to that habit section from before. They've got a new browser that totally changes the way we consume advertising. It's going to be a tough sell to get people to use a new browser, so that's a difficult one. However, it's run by the guy who wrote JavaScript and was on the Mozilla Firefox team, so it's got a strong team. So you're looking at the teams, you're looking at what gaps they fill in the market. Now, what I'll do is I'm going to talk a little bit about Electroneum and how we've identified some things and we've analysed the market, we've got a route to market, and then I hope that you can draw some parallels with whatever projects you're looking at and say, okay, well, there's a lot of things to identify. So from Electroneum's point of view, we wanted to get out there to mass adoption. Now, I've already said it's very difficult to convince everybody in this room to start using cryptocurrency because you've got a dozen other ways to pay for things. So we looked at the world and looked at the world's unbanked. 1.7 billion people in the world don't have a bank account, possibly a lot more. But at least 350 million of those have got Android phones. So I wanted to get a mobile phone app that worked for cryptocurrency. So we've developed that. It's in 20-odd languages, 20-plus languages. Now that's the first step, but just having an app and trying to convince somebody to use it is quite difficult. Now how are these people going to get the cryptocurrency into their hands in the first place? So bear in mind, you go off and you guys will set up an exchange account, you'd follow KYC, you'd open an exchange account, you'd do a bank transfer and you'd buy some cryptocurrency. Straight away you see that there's a massive problem here. You can't get the cryptocurrency into their hands. So the first thing we did, which is also gained us a huge viral growth, we've got 1.6 million users already through this. We drip out a little bit of cryptocurrency into the hands of the app user. What that does is it gives them a chance to try before they buy. It gives them a chance to have a play with a digital transfer method. Bearing in mind these people have never paid for anything with a digital transfer of funds before. So they can now try it. And what we've done is because we've got a route into market through the mobile phone providers, they've immediately got somewhere to actually spend it. So we've got, how do we attract in vendors? Okay, so if you've given somebody some money, the vendors will automatically want to take that money. So we've started to create a little ecosystem by dribbling out some money. So this is basically marketing spend from our perspective. But the important thing for analysing other projects outside of ourselves is, have they identified a market? Have they got a route into that market, and a credible plan? So we've teamed up with a bunch of mobile providers. We've got 100 million plus access to people in the unbanked world. So we've got a confident plan, but make sure that you're assessing the people that you're dealing with. Have they got a competent team, competent plan, and are they filling a gap? Now, the last part I've got on here is enabling a gig economy. And the reason for that is because we've got the mobile phone companies, they absolutely love this project because it saves them a ton of money. It costs about 30% to get cash from the user into the mobile phone company's hands to pay for their airtime. And as soon as they saw that we've got a digital solution, they really, really liked it because it gives them the ability to actually discount their services to the user to encourage use. and it gives them still maybe a 20% uplift. So they're really happy to promote it. But once that person's spent a little bit of free cryptocurrency that we give them, where are they going to get the next bit from? So these guys are quite entrepreneurial. They're millennials, they're entrepreneurs. They are likely to try and work some way out of getting the other free coins off people into their own fund. But again, that's just us funding an economy. It makes us a charity. We're not a charity. We're a commercial entity. So what we're doing is we're setting up a thing called the gig economy. You may or may not have seen this. It already exists very well, mostly run by PayPal. There's something called Fiverr.com. There's a number of others where you can hire people's digital skills from around the world for very low cost. A lot of these people are in Eastern Europe. They've all got bank accounts, so they're all using PayPal, and you can buy their services very, very cheaply. But by creating a gig economy in Electroneum, and we've got two sites launching, one for hourly rate and one for a single gig, as it's called. By buying those through ETN, it means that the West suddenly has access to a new marketplace. So this marketplace doesn't sound that exciting until you look at PricewaterhouseCoopers. Did a report on the world's unbanked. It said it's a $3 trillion market waiting for the West with no way of the West getting access to them. So the gap that we're filling is we've found a way of giving these people not just the ability to spend a cryptocurrency, but the ability to earn a cryptocurrency from someone in the West. So now what we're doing is we're working with teams of digital skill providers, companies that are providing digital skills, to enable these people to learn a new skill and then sell it to the West. So we're solving a problem for the West. They want cheap labour. We're solving a problem for the unbanked because they want to earn some of that money that the West has got. So it's exciting for us. So what I've got coming up is, I've got a very, very fast, this is the first time we've ever shown it. We're just making it live on our website as we speak under the news section. We've also done something very exciting, which is we've created an instant payment system for crypto. So this is our app. That's a till. We scan everything through QR codes. Somebody literally just puts in their PIN number, and the till, via API, says that money's arrived. Now that solves the major problem that cryptocurrencies have, which is the speed of delivery on the blockchain. So we're a trusted third party already. We run the app. You have to be a company to run an app. So we're a company, we sit in the middle, we've got an app, and we are therefore a trusted third party anyway. So it wasn't much of a leap of the imagination for us to say, do you know what? Actually, if we say that that person's money is on the way, then we can actually say it's instant. Now it takes 20 minutes, 30 minutes for the money to arrive on the blockchain, but the person can go in, they can buy their cup of coffee, the till knows the money's on the way, they can walk back out. As soon as they walk back out and go off down the street, they know that their money is on the way via the blockchain, and the vendor will end up with it. This is going to be a really, really important part for us in terms of us filling this gap. So there's a few figures that we've reached already. In fact, we're over 1.6 million users now. It ticks up every single day. 230k mobile miners, 130 million people we've got access to. There's all sorts of figures up there that are, again, it's just a shameless plug for Electroneum, really. But what it's all about is finding a gap in the market, find if the people that are running your project look credible, if they've got history, if they've got a way of delivering to the gap that they've identified. So then if exactly like John and Ariana were saying this morning, user numbers is going to be everything. If what they've got is a very, very niche market and there's only 100 people in that market, well, how are they going to get to that 100 people? If you're talking about a product that needs millions of people, how are they going to get to those millions of people? It's going to be really important. So these are the sort of things I'm talking about in general. There isn't any rule book, although I do like the fact John and Ariana in their segment have got a start of a rule book. That's a really good place for everybody to start. Don't just trust the ICO value. I don't know how many of you jumped into Tezos. I certainly did. I thought anybody who raises that kind of money is guaranteed certain they're going to do something amazing. And as yet they failed to deliver. So you've got to evaluate the team, you've got to evaluate the gap that they're filling, you've got to evaluate their route to fill that gap. And lastly, don't try and solve a problem that doesn't exist. I think an awful lot of products and projects out there are solving problems that you scratch your head a little bit and think, I'm not too sure that exists. So, you know, everybody in the room needs a haircut from time to time. Blockchain is fantastic. So why not haircuts on the blockchain? Maybe that's the future. Yeah, that's the sort of projects I see all the time. There's some pretty crazy stuff out there. So don't try and solve a problem that doesn't exist. Make sure you evaluate the team, evaluate the product, evaluate the routes to market, and you'll find some great success stories out there, I'm sure. And I wish everybody all the best for choosing and growing with crypto. All the best. Thank you.
Thank you, Richard L, for that presentation on which emerging crypto technologies are most poised to reach mass adoption. Thank you so much. Coming up next, we have a panel for you. The panel is on which regulatory changes will